welcome to the 9 News Business Buzz. I'm Ryan Frazier, 9 News business expert. If you think that water restrictions hitting Aurora this week are just a local issue, think again. From Thornton to Denver to Arvada, the Front Range is officially moving into mandatory stage 1 drought. Now, the map of water is becoming the primary filter for economic growth across the entire region. We are seeing a 20% reduction mandate that acts as a hidden tax in some cases on every business and household. Now, this is a regional shift that is changing who can build and which industries are actually welcome. I want to welcome to the show Francoise Bergen, who is an Aurora councilwoman and the chair of Aurora's Water Policy Committee. Francoise, welcome on the show.
Thank you for having me on the show.
Great to have you, and a longtime friend, someone who I know has been very active in Aurora and the region. I want to talk to you, Francoise, about the work of your Water Policy Committee. You've approved guidelines restricting high water use businesses, specifically certain bottling companies and inefficient data centers. How exactly do you determine which businesses qualify for water in this climate, and have any of the companies actually been denied access under this policy?
Sure. What we developed was called a large user water guide, and it's based on a couple criteria of volumetric usage and then also on non-recoverable. So when we take a look at what industry is coming in, we look at our matrix and we see, are they a high water user, but they recover their water? If they do, that might be an acceptable use of water, and then we may welcome them to the city. If it's the opposite, we give them the criteria, and usually they walk away if they know that A, it's going to cost them a lot of money, but B, they may not even be able to tap into our water system.
Yeah. So there have been some companies that have actually not been able to access the city.
So bottling companies, for sure, they use a lot of water. Also some canning manufacturing companies, and we actually had a battery manufacturing company that we had to unfortunately just not have them come into the city. So we have one bottling company that's been here for a very long time. They asked for a second production line, and we were not able to accommodate that.
Yeah, now City Council recently voted to, Aurora City Council to be clear, recently voted to reduce the comprehensive planning boundaries of the city, effectively limiting future annexation. Can you walk us through the reasoning behind that decision, and how does it relate to long-term water conservation?
Sure. So our comprehensive boundary almost went out to Kansas, and we had approved that many years ago, called the Northeast Annexation Plan. And when our general manager of water came to us, he was very concerned about sustainability of our water through into decades. And so we just recently took a vote to reduce that boundary. What that does is basically limits the annexations that come into the city. Developers will often want to annex into the city to tap into our water, because obviously we have very good water and we have sustainable water. So that's the criteria for that. And so by doing that, we didn't limit it so much that we don't have economic growth, because that's also very important to the city, but we did it so that we are being responsible.
Now, and I think it's important for our viewers to understand, this is not just an Aurora issue, as I said at the outset. This is other parts of the metro area who are all taking steps to restrict, if you will, water usage in an effort to deal with these increasing drought conditions. But I want to come back to Aurora, since that's the city that you represent and work in, Francoise. When it comes to new housing development, how are you balancing this state mandate for increased density with local concerns about shrinking water supply? Is the state's push for more people compatible with a 20% reduction mandate?
I would say it's not compatible. Not that we don't want to have enough housing, obviously, for people that are coming into the state of Colorado, but there's a fine balance. And we have to, with these mandates that are mandating density into different municipalities, I don't think the state is really looking at our water usage and how that impacts our current residents. So we're obviously wanting to have housing come into the city and provide that product mix for our consumers, but at the same time being very responsible and making sure that we do have the water that will sustain us way into the future.
Yeah, now many residents and business owners are terrified, those are my words, but I think that's fair in some cases, of the rising cost. And there's $500 fines in some cases that we're seeing across the region. As you look towards, you have an upcoming Water Policy Committee meeting in May. How are you working to ensure that conservation efforts don't place an undue burden on the community while you figure out the future of the Colorado River, which is also impacting this conversation.
It definitely is. So we're definitely doing an education campaign to make sure that our residents are aware of the restrictions. But then, and obviously the goal is to reduce by 20% water usage. If they do the 2 days of watering per week, they should be able to maintain their same level of cost for their water bill. If they exceed it, obviously they're going to end up in a surcharge area, and it could be very costly. But through an education campaign, also we have rebates that we're offering to residents to convert their turf into water-wise landscaping, and it's actually really good. Rebates that are attractive, and we have a team at the water department that can actually help with design of the landscaping for them as well. So, and then I want to say, just back to the housing, we also did a turf ordinance probably about 3 years ago, which restricts any new housing that comes in from having turf in the front yards and will only allow 500 square feet of turf in the backyard. So that's also reducing our water usage.
Yeah, last question for you. What's your message and your individual capacity in terms of what you want residents and businesses to know about these water restrictions that are taking place in Aurora?
I think, we're not trying to punish our residents. That this is a really serious matter. I mean, the reservoirs are down to almost 50% in terms of storage. And so we get our water from the mountains, and we haven't seen a lot of snow this season, unfortunately. And so we have to be really conscious of the water that we do use. We are not just putting it on the backs of our residents, but we are obviously looking at housing. We're looking at businesses that come in and making sure that we're responsible all the way around.
Thank you for that. From data centers to housing developments, water is the ultimate gatekeeper for our economy. Councilwoman Francoise Bergen, thanks so much for your insights and for joining us. For the 9 News Business Buzz, I'm Ryan Frazier. Have a great week.